No one on set that night expected history to rupture in a matter of seconds. Season 9 had already been a powder keg, but the confrontation that unfolded just after midnight is still described by crew members as the moment the entire room changed temperature. In the released episode, viewers see the argument jump cut, trimmed to a few heated exchanges. But the uncut footage that multiple insiders say will never see daylight, tells a completely different story. Jessica, the producer who later became the anonymous source behind the reality spots leaks, said the silence in the room wasn't natural. It was the kind of silence where even trained professionals stopped breathing. Something snapped, fast, hard, and without warning, and every camera operator instinctively stepped back. Two PAs hit their emergency call buttons. A boom operator dropped his pole. One crew member actually walked off the set shaking, convinced someone was about to get hurt. Within minutes, internal TLC emails started flying. Not polite production schedule updates, safety alerts, messages marked urgent, immediate response needed, and do not discuss outside approved staff. Whatever happened in those missing minutes was serious enough that senior producers halted filming altogether. They later told staff the situation was volatile, escalating beyond expected cast behavior, and under review for contract-level consequences. But the most alarming part? That night wasn't actually the breaking point, just the moment everyone finally realized the truth. Something had been spiraling off-camera for weeks, maybe months, and the meltdown was only the visible explosion? And tucked somewhere inside the servers of reality spots, Jessica held evidence, timestamps, raw logs, and details of crew reports that suggested TLC had been watching the situation deteriorate long before the audience ever sensed a thing. The real question, the one that would start a chain reaction leading to a lifetime ban, wasn't what happened that night. To understand why that night in Season 9 shattered everything, you have to rewind months before the meltdown, long before the audience sensed danger. What viewers saw on screen was a couple dealing with normal reality TV friction. What the crew saw was a slow, grinding erosion that became impossible to ignore. From the first week of filming, tension followed Elizabeth everywhere she went. Not loud, chaotic tension, draining tension. The kind that settles into someone's posture, their voice, their eyes. Crew members later said she seemed permanently tired, as if she had learned to predict conflict before it started. Scenes that looked like minor disagreements to fans often required multiple cooling-off breaks. She would step away, breathe, regroup, then return to camera with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Production logs from early in the season flagged a pattern. Sudden mood swings, off-camera hostility, and moments where filming had to pause because crew members felt uncomfortable with tone and escalation. Nothing dramatic enough to justify shutting down production, but enough to make the team watch closely. Enough to make Jessica, already juggling a high-stress season, quietly check in with the crew after every shoot. And it wasn't just emotional strain. Verified public behavior, social media spats, impulsive live streams, and late-night posts that disappeared just as quickly suggested instability that fans chalked up to drama. But inside the production office, those posts raised red flags. The concern wasn't the content, it was the volatility behind it. How fast things changed, how fast they escalated. Day after day, the emotional load built. Elizabeth's exhaustion wasn't performance. It was the outcome of being caught between the expectations of a global audience, a partner whose behavior was growing harder to manage, and a production team trying to maintain safety without blowing up the season. The crew wasn't just filming a storyline. They were managing a situation that felt increasingly unpredictable. And with every shoot, they recorded more. More inconsistencies, more agitation, more signs something deeper was brewing. Until finally, one internal report landed on a producer's desk, a report so specific, so detailed, and so concerning that TLC flagged it as requires executive review. The thread started snapping in real time. By mid-season, production wasn't functioning like a TV set anymore. It was operating like a crisis management team that just happened to carry cameras. Walk-offs became routine. Not dramatic, door-slamming exits, but the kind where a crew member quietly unplugs a mic pack, hands it to Jessica, and mutters, "I need 5." One audio tech reportedly took so many breathers that another crew member joked the boom pole deserved its own screen credit. Underneath the humor, though, was a truth nobody wanted to say aloud. People were uncomfortable. And not the standard reality TV chaos uncomfortable. This was different. Equipment started suffering too. Not because of anything thrown or smashed, nothing that's cinematic. Instead, the problems came from unpredictability. Sudden movements that knocked cameras off balance. A mic pack ripped out mid-filming. A lighting setup abandoned halfway because the couple launched into a spiral that production couldn't ethically use nor safely interrupt. Editors receive hours of footage every day. That season, they were receiving hours they couldn't air and couldn't ignore. The contrast between public-facing behavior and crew testimony grew sharper each week. Online, the couple showcased curated harmony, or at least entertaining drama. But the raw footage told a story that wasn't quirky, wasn't chaotic funny, and definitely wasn't, "Oh, they're just passionate." It was inconsistent, jagged, and emotionally volatile. That volatility created an editorial nightmare. In post-production, editors are usually miracle workers. They can turn dull scenes into comedy, reshape arguments into coherent arcs, and salvage entire episodes with clever pacing. But this time, even they ran out of tricks. Some footage was unusable because it was too fragmented. Some was unusable because it contradicted previously filmed material. And some, according to one insider, was unusable because the energy didn't match anything we'd ever put on TV before. By late season, the edit bays were reportedly sending messages upward. "We need intervention. We can't build a storyline out of this. This is becoming unairable." And when production finally tried to address the behavior on set, calmly, professionally, the way these conversations usually go, the reaction they got didn't diffuse anything. It escalated it. One moment in particular, one confrontation sparked by a simple safety reminder, pushed the entire season from difficult to emergency status. By the time the confrontation happened, production wasn't walking into a surprise. They were walking into a situation they had already flagged as high risk. What no one anticipated was how fast it would escalate once the cameras were rolling. With the context of everything that had been simmering off-screen, the incident became more than a dramatic moment. It became a contract breach, a safety hazard, and a legal liability all at once. When the shouting started, producers followed protocol. Keep distance, keep cameras rolling, avoid physical interference unless someone is in immediate danger. But the energy in the room shifted from tense to volatile in seconds. A movement too sharp. A comment too pointed. A crew member stepping back, visibly startled. And for the first time all season, the production supervisor issued the phrase no set ever wants to hear. "Hard stop. Clear the room." That phrase triggers an internal chain reaction. One baked into production manuals, insurance requirements, and cast contracts. It means the situation has surpassed normal conflict and entered the territory of potential harm. Within minutes, field notes were updated, supervisors were on the phone, and risk management was looped in. This was the moment TLC's decisions stopped being about television and became about protecting staff, company liability, and the show itself. The crew report filed immediately after the incident was described later as extensive and detail-heavy, documenting not just the confrontation, but the buildup leading to it. It matched earlier concerns, reinforced existing safety flags, and, most critically, indicated that escalation was predictable, not spontaneous. From a network perspective, that shifted everything. Predictable risk is actionable risk. Then came the memo. Senior executives circulated an internal document outlining 3 core points. Escalation had exceeded acceptable production conditions. Future filming could not continue without elevated risk protocols. The behavior constituted grounds for immediate contract reassessment. The language was measured but unmistakable. The situation was no longer a production challenge. It was a legal and ethical liability. And buried near the end was the directive that became the turning point. Evaluate for long-term removal from network involvement. The public, of course, saw none of this. No statement, no press release. TLC didn't go public because doing so would require acknowledging what happened, and acknowledging it would mean admitting the crew had been in danger. Silence was the safest path for everyone involved. But the fallout didn't end when the camera stopped. When the couple vanished from promo materials, fans reacted exactly the way you'd expect, by turning into full-time detectives with Wi-Fi. One day, they were front and center in trailers, thumbnails, and episode teasers, and the next, poof, gone. Cropped out of cast posters so cleanly, it looked like a graphic designer had taken it personally. At first, viewers assumed it was a marketing glitch. Then, the tell-all lineup dropped, without them, and confusion turned into pure fandom chaos. Comment sections filled with question marks. Reddit threads launched investigations with the intensity of a true crime subreddit. And TikTok lit up with creators whispering dramatically into their ring lights, "Something happened." The theories were spectacularly unhinged but impressively organized. Some blamed pregnancy rumors, others insisted on secret contract disputes, and a few insisted TLC was building up to a surprise entrance, because no one believed the network would actually remove a drama-heavy couple without milking it for ratings first. After all, this franchise could turn a slow toaster meltdown into a 4-episode arc. Meanwhile, the network maintained the kind of silence usually reserved for royal family scandals. No statements, no clarifications, not even a passive-aggressive due to scheduling conflicts line. And that quiet wasn't accidental, it was strategic. The more chaotic the fan theories became, the easier it was for TLC to let the conversation burn itself out without adding oxygen. Behind the scenes, though, something far less dramatic looking, but far more final was happening. Elizabeth reached out. Sources say she attempted to clarify her status, ask about the tell-all, and get information about upcoming filming windows. Normally, even tense cast situations lead to negotiation. Extensions, partial appearances, or at least a soft off-ramp. This time, nothing. No counteroffer. No attempt to smooth things over. Not a single, "let's revisit this later." For a network that usually prioritizes keeping marketable stories alive, that silence spoke louder than any official statement could. The decision had already been made, and it wasn't up for debate. And while fans endlessly speculated about why the couple disappeared, the real answer was still off the record, locked behind the same internal discussions that led to the ban. But the bigger question, the one that would reshape future seasons, wasn't why they left. It was what their exit meant for the entire franchise. At the end of the day, Andre and Elizabeth's exit wasn't just about one couple. It was a window into how reality TV actually operates behind the cameras. The drama we watch is carefully packaged, but the real pressure exists in the cracks. Safety concerns, legal limits, emotional strain, and a constant calculation of risk versus entertainment value. This couple's volatility forced the network to confront those cracks in a way they rarely have to, and the fallout revealed how quickly production lines can pivot when liability outweighs ratings. The psychological weight on the crew was enormous. Every frame, every angle, every minor interaction had to be monitored, not just for content, but for potential danger. Editors were forced to choose between dramatic appeal and safety. Producers had to make decisions that no audience would ever see. And Elizabeth, her exhaustion and quiet tension were proof that reality TV doesn't just capture emotion. It amplifies it, often in ways that aren't sustainable. From a behavioral perspective, the ban also highlights something important about escalation. Volatility can be tolerated in controlled doses, but when a pattern becomes consistent, predictable, and unmanageable, consequences are inevitable. TLC's choice to quietly remove the couple shows the business side of reality TV isn't about moral judgment. It's about risk management. And sometimes, the quietest decisions carry the most dramatic weight. For fans, it might feel like a sudden disappearance, a missing storyline, or an unsatisfying conclusion. But in reality, these decisions set a precedent. They demonstrate that networks can and will act when safety, contracts, and liability collide with on-screen drama. Behind the glitz and edited arguments lies a machine constantly balancing spectacle with caution. And when that balance tips, even the most compelling characters are expendable. So the next time you're watching your favorite drama unfold, remember, the chaos you see is curated, edited, and framed. The real story often lives in the margins, in emails, reports, and decisions that never reach public eyes. Andre and Elizabeth's exit exposed those margins, offering a rare glimpse at the invisible strings that shape what ends up on your screen. And speaking of invisible strings, in our next video, we're going to explore how other fan-favorite cast members have been quietly removed or reshuffled behind the scenes, and what those moves tell us about the future of the franchise.